that the jury and the trial is going to render a verdict based on the facts, and that they know better than we do when all we get is 3 minutes on a news program. Hi, Jeff Marsanti, the Plain English Attorney, and today we're going to try something a little bit different. We're going to actually talk about that Trump is indicted and what does all of this mean. Now, the reason I'm doing this is there just seems to be so much polarization to the point where there isn't any mainstream news that isn't slanted, that isn't focused in on exactly what are the facts and exactly what it means. Well, why? It's because everybody is so emotional over this. It's like, oh, how dare they indict him? He's running for president. Or, oh, they should indict him for murder and all this other stuff on the other side. And all the news is just designed to get you angry or afraid or elated, something to give you some kind of chemical hit in your brain that makes you stay watching the news, watching their news. And so they're cutting up and catering to the different audiences, and they're just telling them what they want to hear. What I'm going to focus on is just what are the objective facts? What's the process? What's going on? And what does this really mean? So recently, there were 34 grand jury counts against Donald Trump. And, well, first, let me talk a little bit about how it's not political, because everybody seems to be saying, oh, it's political. Well, no, because then if it's, oh, well, he's running for president, well, then all anyone would ever have to do, if they had a big enough PR machine, is just run for high political office and say, well, oh, obviously we can't indict this person for this crime because it's political. No. People generally don't like a political result of an objective fact. So what do? They just decry it as playing politics. Now, here's a recent example, and maybe I'll do a separate video on this at some point. Dylan Mulvaney, a trans woman, has 10 million followers on TikTok. And Anheuser-Busch thought, okay, with 10 million followers, let's just do a sponsorship, get an innocuous plug and a spot out there, and just have them endorse Bud Light. Oh my God. Everybody went absolutely bananas. If you think it's important for educational videos like this to get out there, then please help us out by subscribing to the channel. And everyone's screaming, how dare they make it political? Did you actually see the sponsorship? There was nothing political about it. What was political was they didn't like that it was a trans woman, period. That's what was, quote, political. Objectively, you look at that, yeah, it's an endorsement, a sponsorship. Where did it go? It went on TikTok, where the vast majority of the people yelling and screaming are never on TikTok anyway. So what do they really care? But they're making it sound as if it's political, and it absolutely isn't. And there's a lot of that here. I mean, the only difference is Dylan Mulvaney isn't running for president. So there were 34 counts in the indictment, 34 counts, all of them falsifying business records in the first degree. So all of those are misdemeanors. And everyone's like, oh, it's a misdemeanor, no big deal, no big deal. And the other thing is, okay, it gets elevated to a felony if these falsifying of business records were in support of another crime. So All right, let's stop and talk just for a second. What exactly does that mean? If it's a misdemeanor, it doesn't mean, oh, well, yeah, slap on the wrist, a couple $100 fine, and you move on. No. Misdemeanors can be up to a year in jail. Up to a year in jail. It's not just fines. It's not just community service and slaps on the wrist for misdemeanors. No, you can actually be imprisoned for up to a year. And that's 34 counts. If it gets elevated to a felony, then, oh, it's 4 years. But you're not hearing any of that. You're hearing, oh, what's he going to do to try to make this other crime come up? And if it was federal, that wasn't really done in New York, but it kind of was. And they're forgetting a misdemeanor on its own can be up to a year in jail. 34 of them. That's a lot. So the other thing is, if there really was anything that was political about this, it's the timing. Not that, they indicted him because he's running for president. No, they don't indict sitting presidents. They just don't, because it becomes disruptive, and it does become political at that point, and it interferes with the running of the country. So you wait until after they're out of office. The fact that there was an insurrection and all of these screamings of the election was stolen, Trump was the rightful president, which, that could probably be another whole thing on what is objective reality and what isn't. But the fact is, if they indicted him any earlier, there probably would have been huge riots in the streets and people dying and all this other stuff. So if there was anything political about it, or even about the timing, it's that it took that long. So they did take a much slower approach with a grand jury. All right, so what exactly was the crime here? Because, it's screaming, it's just political. The other thing that keeps getting screamed is, this was just a hush money payment to cover up something that was a personal embarrassment to Donald Trump and to his family. Well, if all he did was, he wrote a check for, I think it was $135,000, gave it to Stormy Daniels out of his personal account, and went on his way, that's a decent argument. But where did all of the, quote, crimes come in? It's because he didn't do that. Donald Trump instead, and this is all what's being alleged, and some of it proven because some of the parties involved are in jail or went to jail. The payment and the non-disclosure agreement came from Trump's personal lawyer. So, Michael Cohen, he actually mortgaged his house to take out that sum of money and provide the check. And then had the non-disclosure agreement put in place. Why would he do that? He had every right to do that, but the fact is, and why he went to jail, is that where it really was then considered a political contribution because of the timing of it. It was just before the presidential election. Now, if Trump wasn't running for president, this wouldn't have happened. So these are already issues that came out, that it was being done to avoid it getting leaked and that would hurt his chances of becoming president back in 2016. This already went to court. There was already adjudications, and Michael Cohen went to jail because of this. So yeah, these are things that were proven. So he mortgaged the house, and then the Trump organization paid Michael Cohen legal fees. All right, so that's what the falsifying of business records were. That's what well, I don't want to say fraud. It was deceptive. Fraud has an actual meaning, and there would have to be other elements proved here. Usually there has to be some kind of pecuniary gain, like gaining money. But it was deceptive. It was meant to hide the fact that this arrangement happened because of the political implications. So now it came out of the Trump organization. It wasn't legal fees. It was to pay him back. It was to reimburse him for that payment to Stormy Daniels. So, and then on top of that, now I'm putting this out that I do not know for certain, but I'm sure it's coming out, if not in this case, in other cases, and particularly potentially against the case against the Trump organization at the New York State level. If they took a tax deduction saying the payment to Michael Cohen as legal fees was a business expense that was deductible, oh yeah, there's some tax fraud that's likely to come up and come out in connection with all of this. Now, the other allegations, and again, it's just allegations at this point until it's proven that there was a conspiracy that involved Donald Trump himself to make all of this happen. So, again, if anybody's still like, oh, well, no, it was definitely political. This is a witch hunt by the Democrats, by the left side. It was actually Trump's Department of Justice that prosecuted Michael Cohen, and all of this stuff came out. So good on the DOJ for actually pursuing this based on the facts, not based on politics and feelings. So now we're kind of getting to the main part of it. Everybody seems to know, oh, this is crap. That grand jury doesn't know what it's doing. Or, yeah, why is it grand jury taking so long? It's obvious. Oh, wait a minute. The grand jury spent months focused on the evidence, focused on the facts, focused on the testimony. So it was as if this were a job for them. Tons of people who have no problems throwing out their political opinions as if they were facts are coming out and saying this because they saw one 3-minute segment on the news channel or on the news service of their choice, the one that kind of caters to what they want to hear again. They think they know better than the grand jury that saw all of this evidence. This is like, and it makes me cringe because my father's a doctor, and you see this. Doctors have 4 years of college, 4 years of medical school. They've got residency requirements, and then maybe they're in practice as a doctor for years, and somebody has the flu and they go, okay, here, you're going to take this medicine, and I need you to drink a lot of water. And then their buddy from the gym, who's a personal trainer, is like, oh, no, don't drink the water. Drink Gatorade. Seriously? Oh, yeah, I'm going to go with my buddy who just happens to work out a lot. They know better than the doctor with all of this medical training and expertise, and it's what they do as a job. That is hubris of the highest degree. And that's exactly what's happening here if you're jumping to a conclusion that Trump is not guilty, or you're jumping to the conclusion that they are guilty. Let's take a look at what exactly did the grand jury do and how is it made up. The grand jury is made up of 23 people, and at least 12 people believed 34 times that there was the crime of falsifying business records in the first degree. Now, they believe there was this crime, not beyond a reasonable doubt. That's the trial level. That's when a jury needs to have that level of certainty to convict Donald Trump of the crime of falsifying records, business records in the first degree. This is just, do they believe it happened? And you can probably, it's probable cause, which isn't like, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. It's like, no, it's very probable that it did happen. So what do you say? It's not, if you say like beyond a reasonable doubt is like 99.5% certain, and possibly, maybe not is 50%. Probable cause is, it's somewhere around like you're about 2/3 certain. So, well, hey, that's pretty good. But it only has to be 12 out of the 23. So it's a majority. And I don't believe we have the stats on exactly how many. It's just, okay, they got this for 34 times for falsifying business records in the first degree. Were there a lot more that got rejected? We don't know. Was it absolutely unanimous? We don't know. But look, that's where we are. It's that 34 times there was probable cause that a crime was committed, and a majority of the grand jury agreed. So where does that leave us? It means we're at the trial level in order to have the legal professionals, the prosecutor, the defense attorneys, the judge kind of being the referee to keep things on track, keeping the emotions out of it, keeping the politics and the tweets and all this other stuff that's meant to get people angry or upset or joyful or whatever. Keep all of that stuff out and focus on the facts. Now, when you do that, when you focus on the law, jury focuses on the facts. How do they apply to the law? Guilty, not guilty, beyond a reasonable doubt. That's what the trial is supposed to be. Telling a story from long ago, I had gotten out of law school. I was working as a writer while I was studying for the bar. And this was around the time of the OJ trial. And they were having an office pool. And it was guilty or not guilty. And I remembered I was the only one that said the jury was going to come down with not guilty. Everyone was like, "You don't think he did it?" That's not what you asked me. You asked me, what do I think the jury's going to do based on the evidence beyond a reasonable doubt? And having gone through law school, gone through criminal procedure not too long before, seeing exactly what the evidence was that was being presented and realizing that there was evidence that was planted, the quote, the bloody sock, and it was very clear that the blood was transported by a police officer to O.J. Simpson's house and placed onto the sock. Do I think he killed his wife, his ex-wife? Yeah. But I was pretty sure, because when that stuff came out with the tampering of evidence, that it was going to be not guilty. So you either have to trust that the jury is going to run through the system, run through the law, and apply it because they're focused full-time on this. It's not about feelings. It's about facts. It's about the law. So really, as a society in the U.S., we have to go forward with the belief that the jury and the trial is going to render a verdict based on the facts, and that they know better than we do when all we get is 3 minutes on a news program. So if there's a good takeaway here, it's we have to trust in the jury system. We have to trust that the court system is going to render a verdict one way or the other, and we should probably accept that. And there are also other multiple trials and other things that are going on, investigations going on, where they're focused full time on this. So we shouldn't be trying to override the justice system. If you don't like the justice system, let's change the justice system. But let's do it in a way that's based on facts, not on our feelings about any particular political leaning one way or the other. So as I always tell my clients, please stay safe, plan ahead, and enjoy life. And whatever you do, make it a great day.